Okay, so I'm going to briefly talk about sounds and how they are related to astrology. So, there is a direct link or correlation between astrology and sounds. As you know, there are 27 nakshatras that have syllables. For example, Satabisha will be Go, Sa, Si, Su. And when you're keeping track of 27 ways of dividing, sounds, it can get very difficult for people to keep up with a lot of that. And knowing how to zoom in or zoom out of something is very underrated when it comes to techniques for astrology because, like, let's say you're looking for a particular address, right? Well, if you're looking at the state, it's going to be different than if you're looking at the neighborhood versus the individual house, right? So until you get to your designated location, you can't always use the same thing for everything, right? So because of the complicated approach to sounds or swara shastra, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you could use a more practical or basic approach to sounds in astrology. I actually used this a couple of times. I just did it today with somebody where I meet someone, I hear their name, and I'm immediately able to compare that to either the panchang of the day or like whatever is going on in the sky at that moment with their name. And then I started saying things about them, and oh my god, how do you do that? Like, it's pretty cool. So what you see here is the Shri Rashi Chakra. So what this represents is the sounds or syllables as designed by Sanskrit composers such as Panini, assigned all to a zodiac sign, right? And I have a video on how to count houses, so if you don't know how to do that yet, you could use this as a table reference. But basically, Mesha is going to be Aries, right? As you know, you count towards the left. So Taurus would be Vrishaba, Mithuna would be Gemini, and then there's Cancer, Leo, Virgo, and so on and so forth, right? So let me give you a practical example. Let's say you're out and about and you meet somebody. Well, chances are their name is going to fall under one of these 12 divisions. And what you could do is obviously you could take a name such as, like, let's say their name is Daniel, right? That's going to be either Makara. It can also be Sagittarius, because this is showing sounds that the English language does not use. So you need some discernment here. You got to be able to kind of piece things together on the go. That, or hopefully you got good intuition. But once you do kind of identify a sound, instead of hyperfixating on the actual sign itself, what you could notice here is, we'll pick Makara, right? You're going to notice that this actually fits a trine, okay? The trine in question is the earth trines. This is extremely useful for other things as well. Oh, dang, I'm sorry about that. In regards to prescribing mantras and helping people find, either like city names. It helps with relocation astrology, whatever, right? Like, you could do a lot with it. But if you notice here, all of the sounds that fall into this earth trine, like na and ta, da, are all that, right? These will be in harmony with the person's name. So not only can you use this for healing and comfort, but it also helps you kind of identify that the main qualities of a person whose name starts with such syllables will be that of earth. So obviously, you know, there's a lot to this. We could really dissect it in so many different ways. But let's say you meet somebody that has an earth trine, right? They're going to be an earthy person. They're going to be somebody that's practical and down to earth. And of course, you can't just rely on this alone. You're going to have some prerequisite knowledge of astrology. But let's say that day you have a look at the Panchang or something, and you see that the position is very favorable, or in a aura that depicts Earth, chances are you were actually meant to meet this person. Or you could say a lot about them based on that circumstance, right? So if you're like, this person has these sounds and this element, and right now the Hora Lord that connects to is afflicted, you will be able to go up to the person and say, hey man, is something bothering you? Is something on your mind? And they might be like, oh wow, how do you know that, right? It's a great conversation opener. It really helps you know what to look at when you do analyze somebody's chart. So a lot of times when somebody approaches me, if they ask for a reading or they're curious about my astrology services, I will look at their name and then I will use that to kind of check a prashna, and then I'll say, hey, are you thinking about these subjects? Right? And it saves me a lot of time because they'll be like, oh wow, yeah, I actually wanted to ask about this. Now you know what to look for in the chart. As you know, astrology can get extremely complicated. There's so many different things to look at, and there's a lot of different ways of approaching somebody's chart. So this is a great way to use as index for the reason of them approaching you or something like that, right? And again, this is really good for other things. I'm going to give you another example. Let's say your moon is a fire trine, right? So any mantra that has the sounds associated with the fire trines here, like the sound or whatever, right, will be very good for the person to hear. You can even construct them manually, which I don't recommend right off the jump. Like, you should definitely get some prerequisites taken care of before doing that. But yeah, there you go. It's a very useful technique. I really love using the Rashi Chakra. And once people do dive into astrology and they start trying to analyze something and, you know, they zoom in too much and they're just not getting results, it's a great way to kind of zoom back out and look at things from a different perspective, because nakshatra sounds will be much more specific, and you got to be able to do birth time rectification and all that stuff to make sure that you're being accurate. But yeah, give it a try. And if you have any questions, obviously you could let me know or leave them in the comments section. And if you want an example of how you could use this in your spiritual practice, let's say you're doing a prayer to a particular deity, or if you are, you know, more Orthodox or Catholic, like you're looking for a confirmation or a patron saint, this can be used as well. And there's actually like a link or common root as to why that is and how it works. But that's for another video. So, thank you for watching. I will leave it at that.